At just 20 years old, Barry Minkow stood at the top of Wall Street, celebrated as a financial prodigy. Yet behind the headlines lurked a lie so massive it was already collapsing. December 1986, his company ZZZZ soars past a $200 million valuation on the NASDAQ, making him the youngest person ever to take a company public. Investors rush in, analysts praise his brilliance, but beneath the surface, every dollar fueling that success is fabricated, carefully stitched together through deception. Within 8 months, federal agents will storm his offices, exposing a fraud so bold it began years earlier, in a quiet garage when Barry was just 16. Wrecker, California, 1982. A teenage Barry Minkow isn't chasing luxury, he's chasing survival, launching a carpet cleaning business from his parents' 2-car garage. He names it ZZZ Best, stacking 4 Z's to land last in the yellow pages, hoping desperate customers will call him as their final option. The idea is clever, but ambition alone can't pay for equipment, vans, or supplies. His only capital is $700 borrowed from his grandmother. Within weeks, that money is gone. Margins are razor thin. Competition is fierce. Barry is drowning in one of Los Angeles' toughest service industries. So he makes a decision that changes everything. He stops playing by the rules and starts bending reality to keep the business alive. His first scheme is simple: check kiting. He writes checks between accounts, exploiting bank processing delays to create temporary non-existent funds. Those few extra days of float become lifelines, allowing him to buy supplies and pay bills using money that doesn't actually exist. Then comes credit card fraud. Customers pay once, but Barry quietly charges them again, slipping in small amounts unlikely to raise immediate suspicion. When complaints come in, he apologizes, blames system errors, and issues refunds. But by then, the money has already been spent elsewhere. At just 17, still in high school, Barry learns a dangerous truth. Fraud is far easier and far more profitable than honest work. The business itself is real. Vans roll out daily. Crews clean carpets across the San Fernando Valley. But financially, it's all a shell game. Money is constantly shuffled between accounts, balancing on the edge of collapse as Barry races to avoid bounced checks and unpaid debts. To outsiders, he's a hard-working teen entrepreneur. To his employees and even his parents, nothing seems out of place. Barry works relentless 18-hour days, fueled by charisma and confidence, hiring friends and expanding operations at an astonishing pace. But growth demands more capital, and legitimate earnings can't keep up. So the lies grow bigger, far bigger than before. He invents an entirely new side of the business: restoration contracts worth millions, supposedly repairing buildings after floods and disasters. These projects require massive crews, equipment, and weeks of labor. But in reality, they don't exist at all. When investors want proof, Barry has a system. He arranges tours of real construction sites, just not ones his company is working on. Through coordination and occasional bribes, visitors are shown legitimate renovations, believing ZZZ's Best is behind the work. They see workers, smell fresh paint, and walk away convinced, never realizing they've just toured someone else's project. One of the boldest lies involves an $8 million restoration in Sacramento, entirely fabricated yet presented as a flagship success. Investors demand a visit. Barry delivers, guiding them through a building under renovation by another company, carefully staged to sell the illusion. The workers are gone. The site is quiet. Barry fills in the gaps with confident explanations and convincing detail. The investors are satisfied. Millions of dollars are wired to ZZZ's Best, funding a project that doesn't even know his company exists. Barry now operates in 2 realities, one real, one fictional, both intertwined and dependent on each other. The real business generates modest income. The fake restoration empire produces tens of millions, on paper only. Each side feeds the other. Without the real business, there's no credibility. Without the fake one, there's no money. By late 1985, Barry has borrowed over $10 million using phantom contracts as collateral, locking himself into a dangerous financial spiral. The debt alone demands constant cash flow. He's no longer building a business, he's running to outrun collapse. His solution is drastic. He decides to take the company public, hoping a flood of investor money will stabilize everything. To make it work, the fraud expands. Fake documents, forged signatures, and fabricated insurance claims pile up in staggering volumes. Meanwhile, The legitimate side of the company remains small, generating only a fraction of what Barry claims publicly. The illusion grows so large that the truth becomes irrelevant, a tiny sliver used to justify an overwhelming mountain of lies. Barry upgrades everything: larger offices, more staff, luxury cars, and tailored suits, crafting the image of unstoppable success. Every appearance reinforces the story: a young genius who built a multi-million-dollar empire before turning 21. But behind closed doors, the pressure is crushing. Barry lives in constant fear of exposure. He tracks dozens of lies, struggling to remember who he told what, knowing one mistake could unravel everything. Monthly debt obligations soar into the millions. He needs the stock price high. He needs belief. Most of all, he needs time. But time is slipping away. In early 1987, a journalist named Daniel Axt receives a tip about ZZZ's best. Axt begins asking basic questions, simple requests that any legitimate company should easily answer. Can he contact the insurance companies? Visit job sites? See completed projects? Barry's answers grow increasingly evasive. He cites confidentiality, safety concerns, and restricted access, excuses that only deepen suspicion. Axt digs deeper, contacting insurance companies directly. Many have never heard of the projects Barry claims. Some deny any relationship with ZZZ best at all, exposing cracks in the carefully constructed facade. At the same time, auditors from Ernst & Winnie begin demanding stricter verification for the next audit cycle. They want site visits, direct confirmations, and documentation that can be independently verified. Things Barry can't provide. He tries to fabricate more evidence, staging new tours and creating additional paperwork, but the lies are spiraling out of control. Too many stories, too many people asking questions. The web he built is becoming impossible to manage. Eventually, the illusion collapses, the truth surfaces, and the empire that once dazzled Wall Street crumbles almost overnight. Barry Minkow is exposed, his company destroyed, and his name forever tied to one of the most audacious frauds in American history. But the story doesn't end there. Years later, Barry re-emerges, this time as a fraud investigator targeting public companies. He investigates businesses, takes short positions on their stock, then releases damaging reports to profit from falling prices. Some claims are legitimate, others are fabricated, echoing the same patterns that defined his earlier schemes. In 2011, Barry's convicted again for securities fraud, proving the cycle of deception never truly ended. By 2014, he's convicted once more, this time for embezzling from his own congregation, adding more prison time and victims. Even after release in 2019, owing over $600 million, Barry Minkow's legacy remains a chilling reminder. Fraud may rise fast, but its collapse is always inevitable.